In today's video, I'm going to show you how to open up your wall, set your brackets so that you can hang a wall mount vanity, and how to put one of these together from IKEA. Stay tuned. So nowadays, a lot of people are getting this open concept bathroom idea. They want to have a wall mounted vanity so there's space underneath. It's easier to keep clean, makes the room feel bigger, and there's a lot of products on the market that have really awesome storage options. And one of them is what we're going to install today. It's the IKEA, right? This is called the God Morgan. It's really simple. It comes in a few different colors. It's 2 full drawers, and it has its own plumbing for the sink. So it takes the drain and runs it right to the back of the wall, and then it runs down here on the P-trap right up against the wall. So you get 2 full drawers. So instead of the drawers being cookie cuttered around what could be your plumbing and you don't have any space, this is a great storage option. And a lot of people like to buy these things. And if you're like me, you're like, well, that's no problem. How hard could it be to install one of these bad boys? But the truth is, because it's an IKEA product, it has a very specific installation. And you can't just jimmy rig this thing to fit yourself. It's not gonna fit the studs in your wall. I'll tell you that right now. I've never seen a bathroom where the holes were exactly lined up according to the IKEA cabinet, because the framing mounts in this cabinet, which is a 31.5-inch cabinet, and right away you should be screaming, well, that doesn't work with a 16-inch center, and it doesn't. So you need to be able to open your wall and block it properly so then you can hang your cabinet. So today we're gonna show you how to measure it, how to mark it, how to build it, and then how to install it. First thing is first, we gotta take a look at our vanity here. We're gonna open up the box, and these lovely pictures say don't use a knife. I always use a knife. When I was young, I worked in a cardboard factory, and I know how thick cardboard is. So I put my knife in the edge there, and I use my finger as a guide, and I just run right down the thickness of the cardboard. I'll open that box every time using that technique, and I'll never scratch anything. Okay, first of all, instructions, and then mount it. Brilliant. Okay, good. Now, if you are uncomfortable with mounting this on your wall and you don't want to open up the wall to do the mounts, these boxes do come with optional feet for the front of the cabinet that'll carry the load of the weight. So that's one way that you can get around this. But I just think if you're going to have a wall mounted vanity, might as well have a wall mounted vanity. These are the drawers. Take all of these parts out of your way. This is like a giant puzzle. Oddly enough, IKEA does make very good instructions. So if you're concerned at all about this, don't be. Just follow the instructions to the letter, and you can assemble this yourself just fine. All right, what's in here? This is our hardware box. Corners, blah, blah, blah. So we basically identified all of the drawer pieces, and then there's the drawer hardware and the handles. I've got it all separated. In this bag is 2 bags. These are all the corners, and that's for assembling those little drawer units. And here's the hardware for the rest of it. All right, now, like if anyone has ever installed IKEA before, you understand it's a system of little pieces of doweling and some clipped together hardware that's just like cam locks here. So the 2 pieces will come together, and then you turn it and it locks it together. Nice and simple. This is actually the mounting hardware, okay? So this part will go against the wall, all right? And you'll have a screw that goes into some sort of framing, and this will sit on the screw. And there are screws that go into the side plate that go into the gable. And believe it or not, the screws that go into the gable off of these clips are more than strong enough to support the weight. So don't be concerned. This is not a new idea. These actually work. These are the locking clamps for those. They all go together. So I just like to separate all my hardware before I get started, so I'm not looking around for everything as I go. Now I'm going to warn you in advance, even assembling one of these cabinets is going to take you about 2 hours. I know it doesn't sound like much, but those drawers, although they're simple and the directions work, are time consuming, okay? So here's my 2 supports for this cabinet that go on the back. There we go, 1 supports, bam, bam. And here are my gables. One side and the other side. So basically what you need to do is put all the hardware on the gable panels, and then you can attach all the pieces. Now when you take a look at these directions, and look at this, they even show you to put it on something like a mat. I usually just use the cardboard box that this comes in as my building surface, right? So now here's my gable, I've got my little pins in where I'm supposed to. These are my wall mounting brackets, and I'm setting up all of my little things here. Now here's the deal. This connects to this, all right? And in the diagram, in the instruction manual, it says to put these on after you've put the blocks in. Well, I set this on here, there's nothing holding it up. You'll go insane, okay? So what I do is I install this first. Now there's a little arrow on this hardware. Can you pick that up? All right? And you just push it down. And when you install this, you're actually installing that arrow over top of it, and then you're going to use your screwdriver to turn it and lock it in place. So you can put all of these in first, and that'll help ensure that you don't miss anything and you know you have all your hardware before you start. Follow the instructions. And the way this works is they've got these lovely wooden dowlings. They usually go in conjunction with the pins. Usually 1 dowling on every piece of this. You don't have to use any glue on that. Now this is the bottom. So depending on your drill, you probably shouldn't use a drill for this next step. You just put the screwdriver in and you turn it about a half a turn until it's snug. There we go. Hand tight. You don't want to fight too much with this because you can just break everything apart. We're just trying to get snug so that we know we have a nice fit. So this cam lock holds this piece tight to this piece, and then that little piece of wood in there, the dowling, keeps this strong from going left and right. All right, so once that's on, we're all good to go. Generally, as a rule, when I'm installing pre-made cabinets like this, I try to remember that everywhere people can see, I don't want them seeing the hardware. So this is my front. Make sure that the front is definitely not visible. But even if they were to pull a drawer out and be able to see inside the cabinet, I want that to look pretty as well. So I always hide the hardware somewhere else. Here we go. That's basically it. We take the other panel. We've also got everything attached. The only thing we need now is our doweling. And I found for simplicity, if you put all of your fasteners in the same panel, it makes things easier when you're installing. You don't want to have your metal clips here and your doweling on the little individual blocks. It just takes forever to line everything up. Okay, here we go. Start at the farthest point and just gently rest everything into place. Okay. Once everything's lined up, give everything a little love tap and then go around, lock on all your cams. Okay, here we go. Now we have a wall-mounted vanity. So for simplicity, we'll just demonstrate. That's where my vanity is going to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just mark where this is, okay? And then I'm going to take off my laser level. Now we're going to be adding a sink here that's 2 1/4 inches thick. So any marks you make on the wall right now don't matter. It's all going to get covered up. I just slid my laser level up the wall here to my lowest point. And I can see that my other mark is way off level. Since I was resting on the water lines, I better go up to that one. Make sure I've got room for everything. There we go. So now I got a line to measure from. I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a laser level at home, invest one. It's so easy to install anything in your house level, pictures, cabinets, anything. It just makes your life so much easier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from my laser level mark to the center of the hole of the bracket. And it's 16 inches down. All right. And I'm just going to make a mark here. 16 to the first hole. I believe these holes are 8 inches apart. And I am wrong. It's 8 3/4. See, the other one is down 24 3/4. All right, so I'll mark that as well. 16, and then 24 3/4. So now I'm going to take my measurement from the cabinet sitting on the floor up to my laser line. It's 13 1/4. Okay? And this will give me the exact measurement from that line to where these holes go. All right, so this is going to be 2 3/4. And this is going to be my line right here. Okay. This is going to be my line right here. All right, I just changed my laser level. I'm going with a vertical line now to where my lines were. And now I'm going to mark, that's the top of my cabinet, down 2 3/4. All right, and down 11 1/2. The likelihood that there's going to be any wood in this wall is pretty small. I can actually see a dent here and here where there's framework in the drywall. So that's how you find out if you've got something to screw it to. And we don't. So now we come back to this. This is where my screw goes. So I only have maybe 1.5 inches from where my screw goes. Yeah, 1.5 inches to finish cabinet. So I have to actually mark this now. Because whatever modifications I do here, I want to make sure that I'm leaving room that I don't have to patch my drywall after I mount the cabinet. And the reason we're marking all this is so we have an idea of where we have to open the drywall. Remember, the back of the cabinet, it's not necessary to have that drywall in perfect condition. But we don't want to cut our drywall past where our finish wall will be, which is 1.5 inches to the left. So we're going to mark that just so that we can steer clear of that area. And now we're going to cut out the drywall and see what we have to work with. So what we did is we measured down to this hole and this hole. We made our marks on our center line. And then we made a mark just from the outside edge of the cabinet, 1.5 inches, just to make sure that this is identified. So when we're going to cut the cabinet out, we want to cut the back of the wall inside the context of this area. So that after we mount the cabinet, we see nothing but finished wall and we don't have any patching to do when we're done. Maybe 2 pieces of wood there. If you're working on an outside wall like I am, try not to plunge too deep with the saw. Then you won't penetrate the vapor barrier that much. A lot easier to fix up if you don't cut it. So once we're done putting in all of our blocks, we're going to save this piece and put it back. So don't throw it away. Okay. All right. So, according to this, now, my center line is just to the side of here. That's easy to attach to. And on the other side, my wood is 2 3/4 inches away. It's going to be a problem. So what we've done is we've cut the vapor barrier, opened it up, and our job is we're going to slide a piece of lumber in next to the existing frame. All right, and we're going to screw all that together so that that can translate the weight of that vanity back into the wall. It's funny because when you're building something like this creatively, there's a lot that can go wrong. Okay, so first screw. use it as a handle. All right, you're gonna want that because I don't have enough room to screw from this side, so I've got to screw from this side. So I'm gonna want to try to keep all of this nice and steady. Now, a construction screw will carry 80 pounds of weight. So if I use 4 screws, that's 320 pounds per side. And that is basically twice what I need on each side if somebody was actually sit on it. And that is really what you want to do. Think, how dumb could somebody be? And if somebody was that dumb, is this going to be safe? Never be surprised how stupid people can be. Here we go. Now, I'm going to hold it here. Remember, I'm on an angle with this screw, so when I tighten this up, it's going to want to pull the wood out. So I want to start just a little bit deep, and if it ends deep, it's not going to hurt the way it holds the weight of the wall. Okay, then just finish them off. There we go. One side done. For the other side, my wood's way over here inside the wall. There's nothing to attach to. So what we're going to do is old-fashioned kind of point load technology. I'm going to force this piece of wood in the wall, slide it down onto the plate right where I want it to be. And then I'm going to attach this one to the drywall only. And that'll be, actually, believe it or not, that'll be strong enough to carry the weight of the sink because the weight that's in here is going to translate directly down onto the floor and the plate. And that will work. So I've just measured this off. Oh, force it the other side of that vent line. And I really want to force the issue because I cut that wood to finish right off at the drywall. So I know exactly how far it's got to get down there. Now, it's going to be difficult because I'm fighting against two things. One is all the plastic that's already tightened up in the wall, and the other is that tape measure I lost in there earlier. So I was just fishing down to get a measurement, and it got caught. I couldn't pull it back out again. So I just cut the damn thing in half. So I'm going to just throw this screw here for good measure. Now we got wood where we want it to be. That is brilliant. Now, remember, when you cut a vapor barrier, always try to replace it the best you can. No house is sealed up 100%. So if you can't get it all the way in there, do your best. Use a boring screwdriver or the back side of your pencil or something. Try to get that sealed. Now, we're going to slide this back over top of our mess here. Put a couple of screws. Set up our laser line. There we go. So now we've got everything roughed in. We got the laser line back in place. I'm holding the cabinet up against the wall, making sure that I'm going to install this perfectly level, because why not? And now that I have everything marked, so now I'm just filling up my hole, my pencil mark here, and I'll explain why. I'm going to take this off. In order to mount the cabinet, we're going to use 8 by 1 1/4 particle board screw. It's a thick thread, awesome for putting it into wood, and it has this cool little flat pan head on it, which is really good for this hardware because it really grabs well, and I'll show you in a minute when we mount it. We just throw the screw at the top of the mark. Oh. Now this is 1 1/4 inch, and I'm only going through drywall into wood. I just want to leave a little bit of space because our bracket goes right up against the wall. Okay, and now you'll see what I'm doing. So, line up your screws, put your brackets over it, and then just set it on the screws. Back out your screw enough that you can get your mounting washer over it. And just tighten it up for good measure for now. You're going to want to do this to all 4 of these here. I try to keep them as horizontal as I can because the plate behind it actually has ridges in it, that the back of this has really nice sharp kind of teeth on it. And if you keep it horizontal, it grabs really, really well. Okay, so now they're all installed, but you'll see I'm a little bit beneath my laser line. So we're just gonna take this off the pressure a little bit until the front square washer starts to have a little flexibility. I'm gonna lift that up to hit the laser line and then tighten it up real good. You can see that with a laser level, this is a one-person installation. If you try to use a manual level for this, you'd drive yourself crazy. You'd have the whole family in the bathroom helping to install the cabinet. Now this is just one of the few options available of sinks that go with this particular brand. It's a cast porcelain. It already has the overflow ready to roll and the hole in the top for a single hole faucet. If you're gonna go to the store and buy your own faucet, they all do come single hole. Or you can just buy yours at IKEA. They make a decent product too. Let's just sit it in place and we get a look here. Very pretty. So the IKEA faucet, it's a brilliant little production. Here's your drain, comes in with their faucet. The faucet itself has its own shutoff valves. And one of the reasons you want to buy an IKEA faucet to go with an IKEA sink is the faucet comes with the drain system and the tailpipe system that's compatible with the sink plumbing kit, okay? So you get some of the plumbing with the sink and some of the plumbing with the faucet. This is a secret. If you don't buy their faucet, you're gonna be short some of the plumbing. So when you're installing your IKEA faucet, take these little nuts off of these two long rods here. And one end is flat, the other end is a Phillips tip. Leave the Phillips tip showing so that after you've finished your installation hand tight with a wrench, you can still use your screwdriver and tighten the rod. I'll show you how. Do a finger tight and then back it out about half a turn. Okay, now you're ready to install. Place it through the hole. Okay, boom. Everything you need to install comes in the kit. Even this little handy screwdriver is a throwaway, but you'll see their little nuts actually fit in the end, and it makes it so much easier to reach in the back. So we're gonna have a rubber gasket and then a metal clamp. Rubber goes up against the porcelain. Get your bracket over those two holes here, pull your lines forward, and then snug it up to the sink. All right, then you take one of these little washers. I have too many things in my hand. Put the washer in your little screwdriver tool. All right, and then just twist it on that way. Oh, that's perfect. So hard to see. That really helps you to get it set. And once you have one of these on, put it all the way to the top so that the faucet isn't going to be moving around and potentially chip your sink while you're getting everything else adjusted. You want to take great care here. Put that on. Now this is the fastest way that you can put that nut on there, especially when you have big fat fingers like I do. Remember what I was talking, Max? Why don't they just make the rod short? Wouldn't that have been easier? All right, here's the advantage of that little plastic screwdriver now. I can square this off and then tighten it by hand firmly into position. That is awesome. When you're all done, you take your Phillips bit drill, go to the bottom of that screw and tighten it again. Now you can use the torque of this tool and not your arm to really set the strength. It may not be much, but it's that one little bit of a 1/16 of a turn after you've tightened it on that makes it incredibly difficult for ever come loose. So thanks to our friends at IKEA, when you buy a sink, you get a drain kit, and when you buy a faucet, you get a drain kit, and they're not actually always compatible. Very odd. So we only have one of these, which doesn't fit properly in this particular sink. Now, there's your gap. So a lot of sinks, if you're natural stone, that'll work great. But in this situation, it's a porcelain, it's got a small one. So this came in the faucet. This came with the sink. And it's actually an adapter for that piece. Amazing. Boy, I was just about ready to pull my hair out until I realized that it looks like they had an adapter in this kit. Now this is going to make sense. Now just remember, when you go to IKEA to buy something like this, make sure you check with an attendant that your sink is compatible with your faucet system. Not everything is compatible. Just a word of the warning. All right, now. All right, so we have our drain assembly. It's adjustable. All of this stuff is adjustable. I know it looks hokey when you're working with it, but it actually works. So one of the keys here is you got to line up your screwdriver on this closed port here. And you're supposed to break this out without breaking your hand. That's actually in their instructions to use the screwdriver, and that's not working. So we were actually showing you how to install a traditional drain, and then we realized that we couldn't, and we took a look at installing this complete system instead, and that's where we figured out our problem. So save yourself the hassle. Don't install the drain that comes with a faucet, just the drain that comes with the sink. Now, here's the overflow, and it fits into this little gadget here. And this is just a compression fitting, okay? Nothing necessary needed here except to line it up. And this little rubber thing, it's designed to be the overflow as well, and it sticks onto the back of the drain system. So I've attached it onto the stem first, all right? I'm figuring this is gonna make my life a little bit simpler. So we're gonna just find the thread. It comes with this little tool here. I'm thinking this is supposed to help tighten it up. Now I've got the back of it sticking up like this, so I'm going to just pull it down now to nice and snug. And we'll connect our drain that we punched our hole through. There we go, overflow. In the instructions it suggests that you use a screwdriver and just punch it through. At the risk of causing yourself bodily injury, it wasn't that easy, so I would suggest maybe using a wooden drill bit and just hold it and punch through that way. You don't need the whole hole exposed, it's just an overflow. So, you know, maybe half of that gap would be lots. So real quick with the drain system, thank you. You want to slide over your connecting ring, slide over your washer. Now this is all very adjustable. Here's your P-trap. Whoops, not going to be good enough. There's another washer here you put on. All of these things, just compression fitting. Ask any plumber, he doesn't like this plastic. Don't over tighten this stuff, folks, or you'll crack it. Be real careful. But here's where we are. We want to be able to have this P-trap reach over to my drain, so I can just put a 90-degree elbow on this. And then there's a reducer with an 1.25 inch white collar, okay? And that'll be a compression fit onto that plastic. This is compatible with the products at Home Depot, I guarantee you that. And now here's my wiggle room. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line this up. I'm gonna mark my extension, that's as low as I can go. I'm gonna back it up just a little bit. And that's where I wanna cut the pipe. Now, this is one of these situations where I don't use much force and just rely on the blade. Take your time with it. Once you get it started, hold above your cut. If you try to be too aggressive with this, you could damage this drain beyond repair. And then you've got to trip back to IKEA, because nothing else in this drain system you're going to find at the local building store. So take your time. There we go. Don't worry about how straight it is. Clean off the burrs so it doesn't grab extra hair. Slide this up. Slide this down. Again, everything's going to wiggle around until you're done. Hand tighten in position. There we go. Now it's just a basic connection. All we need now is to turn off the water, cut these lines, put on a couple of shark bite valves, and then connect this. This connects to your standard 3/8 water supply line. If you're concerned at all that they're too long, just come at it from the side, okay? Try not to curl it up into and kink the line like this. You'll damage the water line for a long time. And there we go. Now this system is designed so that the drawers will close up to this drain. So any plumbing that you have from this point back is safe. So you want to cut your water line back here, get your shut-off valve behind the stem, because these drawers are designed to close right up against this. Okay, so this is kind of like your guide. I like to set my P-trap nice and deep back here. All right, so that when I'm cutting that in, I've got lots of room. I don't want to be up here and risk doing it on an angle and the drawer doesn't close. So I'll intentionally go back on a bit of an angle. And then you're always going to be fine. For the rest of the hardware, just remember that these brackets traditionally come with a soft close gasket option in it, okay? There we go, nice little action. You want to install it with the rod pulled out. Screwed on, follow the instructions for where the holes are, screw them in, and then close them up. Boom. And then when you're ready with your drawers to put them in, just pull all your rods forward, set your drawer on, and then just push it back. It'll feel a little awkward because it's setting into the locking position, but don't worry, you're not going to break it. And then when you're done, just open it up, give it a bit of a shove, and it'll soft close. Good luck. Now here's the funny part. These porcelain tops, because they're precast, they don't always come out exactly the way you want to. So even if you got your box square and everything's level, you can put one of these on and it'll still have movement. It might be rocking, okay? If that's the case, don't worry about it. The installation is exactly the same whether it's rocking or not. Once you have it in position, before you connect your plumbing, just lift up the front, put a couple of dabs of silicone on the corners, and gently set it down and leave it be. Come back the next morning, you're gonna be good as gold. Well, that seemed like a lot more energy than it was necessary, but listen, IKEA products are decent, they work, but you have to have patience, especially when you're going through the instructions. You need to read the instructions. There's so many different ways you can make a mistake there. Just follow the book, you'll be fine. And again, if you like seeing products like this, where we're showing you how to put together these things you can buy in the store, let us know in the comments below. Like the video, we appreciate all the love, and it helps us out a lot. Looking forward to seeing you the next time.